Happy Sunday morning to everyone. A lot has been talked about sustainability yesterday. Sustainability is about systems thinking, thinking of the origin. The question to ask a product is, where did it come from? Sustainability is a balance between the three E's: environment, economy, and equity. I'm not even getting into the 17 SDGs of sustainability. We had already had a talk yesterday, but in brief, on 25th of September 2015, all the UN members signed the Sustainable Development Goals. In the last 2 decades, the world saw a drastic climate change with the Australian fire to tsunami, to locust attack, to heavy pollution in Delhi. In September 2019, young people took to streets in a global strike, protesting climate change. How mindful have we been of what we eat and how we produce food? Poverty is not natural, it is man-made. Connecting every school, every person to internet with education may be the solution. They say, don't feed a beggar, but enable him or her. Gender equality evangelist Malala says, stop changing women, change the system. If we talk of technology in space, a green design building is 20% less expensive. What has been the impact of COVID on sustainability? In Punjab, the Himalayas in generations are visible again. The lions have reclaimed the roads in National Park. In Venice, the canals run clear once again, and across Italy, the dolphins have returned. But we need to think of the handloom sector, some of which was dwelled upon yesterday. We need to get together to solve this. The clock is ticking. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the panel discussion on sustaining livelihoods among vulnerable communities through handloom. It's my honor to introduce our first panelist of today. Shantmanu sir is an administrative officer of 1991 batch of Jammu and Kashmir cadre and is a mechanical engineer from University of Roorkee with a post-graduation in management and yoga. He is currently Development Commissioner Handicrafts and also Director General National Institute of Fashion Technology. He is also a qualified instructor of Art of Living. He believes in our moral, traditional and cultural values and is working for the revival of the same. He is a true leader with positive personality. He also holds senior diploma in instrumental music. The handicraft sector not only reflects the tradition and culture of a country but also plays a significant role not in Indian economy. The vast experience and skill of Sri Shantmanu Sirji has been contributing significantly to handicraft sector by improving the working and economic conditions of artisans of the country. Our next panelist whom I am introducing is Professor Dr. Sudha Dhingra, who is presently the Link Dean at the National Institute of Fashion Technology, New Delhi, and a senior faculty in the Textile Department. Her core competence lies in the study of crafts, Indian and world textiles. She is a core team member for developing the curriculum for fashion studies for CBSE and co-authored the book on traditional Indian textiles for CBSE and co-edited the book Textile Crafts of India, covering the handloom traditions of northeastern Indian states. Recently, she's been appointed the Director of Center of Excellence for Khadi, which will be set up at 5 NIFT campuses with the objective to assist the Khadi institutions to design, produce and market high-quality differentiated Khadi products for the Indian and the global market. Her doctoral work on revival of tribal Pata handloom weaving using natural dye in Bastar and Koraput included the documentation of sustainable practices followed by Panika community. Our next panelist is Ms. Jonali Saikia. She's a founder of Heeya Social Enterprise, a social enterprise that focuses on building sustainable livelihoods through an approach of empowering women artisans in Assam. Heeya is focused on creating sustainable livelihoods through a systematic intervention of process innovation, upskilling of artisans, design development, and marketing. Heeya currently works on women artisans through a network of NGOs, cooperatives, and self-help groups in Chaigaon, Jorhat, and Bongalgaon districts. As managing trustee, Handcrafted Foundation, Jonali and her co-trustees have a vision to create sustainable livelihoods for women from the informal sector. They are currently working with women weavers and tailors in Karnataka and Assam to create livelihoods displaced due to COVID-19. Prior to this, Jonali was working in the corporate sector with global majors such as Accenture and AOL. She is an alumnus of Guwahati University and IIM Bengaluru. Our last but not the least panelist for the day is Miss Devika Krishnan, CEO of Vayati Weaves, a graduate from NIT, has worked for Dastaka, Ranthambore and the Good Earth before relocating to her hometown Bengaluru. She currently heads a small handloom startup called Vayati Weaves based out of Yemiganur in Andhra. She continued to work in the craft sector and has worked with handloom and handicraft groups all over India, from Kashmir to Tamil Nadu. It is the people, the process, and the system of makers and markets that she engages with more than the product. To her, design is about setting up or improving existing systems to benefit humanity and the planet. It is not about a weave or a print or a garment, but about the weaver, the printer, and the dressmaker. It is about the buyer. It is about the joy that the makers, while they make and sell the products, and of the owner who buys and uses it. She does not believe in mass manufacturing-led fast fashion that is using up our planet's infinite resources and polluting it beyond repair. She believes in trends that are mindful of people and the planet, that promote fair wages and environmentally friendly production and biodegradability. She does not believe in exclusivity and copyrights, but in being inclusive and democratic as a design practitioner. So we have an interesting panel here, and I would now pose my questions, and the first question is to DG sir, since he has been in Kashmir for a long time and with the government. So what have been the government initiatives on sustainable livelihoods in India?
Yeah, thank you, Vibhavari. And all, let me wish everyone the belated Handloom Day. It was yesterday. And in fact, as it was discussed and decided that this year, or maybe subsequent years also, we'll be celebrating not only Handloom Day, but Handloom Week. So it is in that connection that, of course, we are celebrating today also. And I really appreciate this for the panelists. A really very, very important for all of us. The experience of craft, design, and civil services. As you asked me specifically about my experiences in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly the vulnerable sections there, initiative government took particularly for the benefits of artisans and the weavers. I have served the Commissioner Secretary in the Industries and Commerce Department also in the state of JNK, which also covers this sector of handloom and handicraft. And all of us know that the entire state of JNK, now when I say JNK, it includes Ladakh. Ladakh has been recently given separate status as UT. So the entire particular Kashmir has such a rich cultural heritage of weavers and artisans. If we talk of handicraft artisans, we have got paper mache, we have got the walnut products, which they make intricate designs over that. And then a lot of embroidery, the Kani work, the Pashmina work, and so on. The list is, in fact, observed there. I went to the state for the first time. This is my cadre. So in here I have some SDM to DM to commission, all the posts. What I observed there, that in a family of say 6 months, average one person is somewhere engaged in the some other department. One of them is engaged in the activity related to tourism. Say he's taxi wala hai, ya phir he's in some way he's guide to his tourist guide or something else. But as what I'm saying is that one of the average figure, of course, out of the 6 is engaged meaningfully and engaged fully in any of these works, in handicraft or handloom works. What happens that entire family is engaged in that, particularly if somebody is doing embroidery or weaving or tanning work, or even carpet weaving. So what happens, particularly during the winter times, a lot of snowfall, a lot of free time for them. Then the entire family, because they have got huge rooms, they sit on the floor and they work together. So that's the beauty of the society there. But as we know that 90s, I joined there in 1991, the first time of the crisis. So the entire 90s, even in the first decade of this century also, these 20 years were really very troubling year for them. And during that time, they lost a lot of opportunities. I remember when I was Secretary Industries, there was a scheme from here itself, from the Development Commission Handicraft Office, of supplying loom to the carpet weaver. And 80% expense was borne by the government and 20% was to be borne by the beneficiary. And there was a huge demand. In fact, now when I came back to Government of India and served as Development Commissioner Handicraft, then I found that within a year, whatever scheme, whatever money was there, so more than 10,000 carpet weavers came forward. They gave their 20% share and they took the looms. And when these looms were distributed to them, and then we have got Institute of Carpet Technology in Srinagar. So with the help of that institute, a training module was formulated. And the short term, although they knew everything, but still some design input and some soft skill training was imparted to them. So that was the turning point around 2000, 2010, 2011 about the carpet weaving. Although mostly the carpet they weave is on woolen, and then of expensive, and that it takes a lot of time also. But it's still, so that is one benefit, one initiative I remember offhand, which was given to them. And later when I went into detail, then I found there are many things which are already being done for them, but that was very expedited. For example, these artisans, they are given some raw materials or input material. For example, for handloom weavers, there is a scheme called Hatkargha Samvardhan Sahayata. English में इसको हम बोलेंगे तो say handloom support, handloom promotion scheme. So in that again, looms and the attachments like jacquards, and those are provided to them. There is a financial limit for that. So again, this was very much accepted by them. But luckily in J&K, as compared to now, I went to northeastern states also later on. Luckily for J&K, loom problem was not that much acute. They did have a good quality of looms. And the working quality was also slightly better than many of the northeastern states. But still, that was very much appreciated. Then came the most important thing, that is the marketing part. So we do have urban heart both in Jammu and Srinagar. So those urban hearts were then improved upon. And then after so many years, then annual that exhibitions where all states craft persons participated. That thing was initiated. So these are the 2-3 initiatives just come to mind immediately, which were done. And it's still an ongoing process, like from here itself, from here only, from Government of India, from the Office of DC Handicraft and DC Handloom, all these schemes are implemented. In addition to state government specific schemes also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. My next question is to Dr. Sudha. Textiles of a region reflect social cycles and life events, as quoted by you. How have the tribal or the Adivasi craft traditions reflected the distinctiveness of cultures and regions?
Thank you, Vibha. I had the fortune to work with the weavers of Kotpad and Bastar starting from 2008. And these were 2 regions which were basically catering to the tribal population. They were making textiles on handlooms. They were doing dyeing in aal and making it for the tribal population. Although traditionally they've been doing it for the tribal population, but gradually tribals had moved to using synthetics. And that is how these weavers were sort of, the skill was languishing, and they were, shifting over to other professions. Like, they were, some of their young generation wanted to be drivers or wanted to be security guards, even though they had learned the craft of awl dyeing and weaving. Can I show you how the place impacts their design and things through a small presentation? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Kotpad in Orissa are areas. They are, there's a distance of almost 40 kilometers between these two places. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. I can hear you now.
Carry on. Yeah.
Light. I think there is. Can you hear me? Because I can't. Okay, so actually,
Please, Sudha ji,
Ma'am, you want to
some
switch off your
issue
video for the presentation?
yeah, but I am unable to escape from this somehow. Just yeah. So this is the place. This is how it looks actually. Forest. They take firewood, sell it. They have good knowledge of indigenous tamarind and fruits and natural dyes and medicines, which is obtained from the forest. I'm unable to shift to, okay. This is how the place looks like. When you look at it, they use all the material, like you can see how the fencing is made and all this kind of material they use for making their, habitats. When you enter the area, this is a scene from Bastar, where nobody now wears the traditional handlooms because they turn out to be more expensive. And they have shifted to wearing these very bright colored synthetic material, which is easy to maintain, easy to wash and clean, and it's much, much cheaper. Men and women both are very fond of doing, adorning jewelry, bright colors, but you'll find that most of them are wearing it traditionally, but all synthetic material. Tribals from the villages come out during the Shera time. So my first visit was during the Shera time, when they come out to Jagdalpur to celebrate pujas, and they buy their accessories, they buy their clothing. But this is what the scene was in 2008. I spent around 15 days, in 2 or 3 years in the area to do my field study, and I found that they were living a very, very sustainable.
I think we have lost Sudha ma'am. She'll be joining right back. So probably we could move over to the next panelist, Ms. Jonali, if you could continue, because you are also working in the Assam sector. So what were the strategies you worked on?
Sorry, I got disconnected. Yeah,
Ma'am,
yeah. I can take it after Jonali, maybe, or no?
Okay, okay. Yeah. So, what were the strategies you worked on to create an environment of support with the underprivileged sections to up? Yes. You are on mute, Jonali, if you could.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
you.
So first of all, thank you very much, Vibhavari, and thank you to the entire NIFT community for having me on this panel discussion of this esteemed panel discussion for this very important celebration of National Handloom Day. Greetings, Director General Shantmanu sir, Professor Susan Thomas, Jonali Bajpai, and everybody out there, and Vibhavari, of course, and my co-panelists. So I think we are discussing a very, very important point. And for me, it has really been something that I've been working on for the last several years now, on working on a sustainable livelihood for the communities of Assam specifically, and to some bit in the Northeast. So this journey started around 2013, soon after my corporate career. As Vibha had just mentioned, I was in the corporate sector for a long time. So when I started, the goal was to create a sustainable income generation for the weavers of Assam, particularly because they have very high talent pool of women weavers and also corresponding infrastructure. So this was the beginning of the whole idea. And after that, there was a field visit. I mean, I was in the field researching for almost about 1.5 years. Although I belong to the state, I did not have a great idea of the sector itself. But yes, it did help me in understanding the overall landscape of weaving, the demographics, the cultural, the sociological, all the factors that were baked in. So just to give you a context, which many of you might be well aware of, that Assam is a melting pot of several tribes and communities. So it has almost 220 tribes. And some of these are, major tribes are about 7. So the handloom scenario, the handloom landscape is literally a kaleidoscope of all the traditional wear of these various groups of people who have migrated from about 600 years from the eastern side, from Southeast Asia, etc. So naturally, there has been a big amalgamation of weaving practices that they brought along with them, and yarns used, motifs, etc. One of the highlights of weaving culture of Assam is that every woman must know how to weave. And I'm talking of the rural area, of course. So every woman must know how to weave because she has to weave her own cloth and wear it. And secondly, every house has to have a loom. And this loom is almost like a permanent fixture in every home next to the kitchen, where a woman must spend some hours of her day out of choice, not by compulsion. So that is the scenario. So every woman knows how to weave from the time she grows up to be a woman. So we knew that there was this big pool of weaving talent. Secondly, the infrastructure is there. So what could we do in order to bring about a long-term and sustainable weaving culture that would be income generating? So we started with 3 P's. Like in marketing, we have 5 P's. So here we started with 3 P's. One was paisa, it must generate income. Second is product. It must have a product. We must have a product that would connect to the world and not just the traditional garments. And third is pride. It's very important that the weavers, are also taking pride in what they do. So they must do it as a manner of them wanting to do it and self-express. So these were the 3 guiding principles. Now, how we thought about doing this was through a multi-pronged strategy. So we thought to ourselves that it would be impossible to look at all these weavers. So Assam also has the highest number of looms in the whole country. I mean, I think there are 25 lakh looms in the whole country, out of which 13 lakhs are in Assam alone. So, of course, it may not be the best of looms always, but there are looms that are there that are able to weave clothes. So we needed to look at how to best reach out to the women. So we decided that we would do it through local community groups, by which we would have the local support, the community support, and we would be able to roll out our interventions in a much more seamless manner. So we reached out through cooperative groups and self-help groups. I remember having seen a list of 6,000 self-help groups, which after calling and skimming, I found that there were only like about 25 which were actually functional. So, and 100 I could call. I mean, the rest of them did not even have any way of being contacted. So like I said, the 1.5 years was spent in visiting them, understanding their strengths and weaknesses, etc. So this was one of the strategies we took. Second was, like I said, the product. So we did not want to market traditional products, or we did not want to market generic products like, bed sheets and bed towels, because the strength of the women are in particular crafts like extra weft, which is very intricate. And we wanted to be able to display it through a product that a customer would love to own. And that's why we said that, hey, we'll make saris. Although sari was never made in Assam, or it is not worn in Assam as well. It's not the item of clothing for a woman. It's a traditional garment, which is called the mekhla chador. So, and many other tribes have their own clothing. So we decided to make saris, and that meant a whole slew of other things like upgrading looms, etc., upskilling the women, providing them hand-holding, giving them mentoring, giving financial access, and of course, the design and development. So, in short, these are the strategies we had undertaken. We've also gone through 2 cycles of lockdown, like in the last 2 years. So we wanted to make sure that, because of lack of consumer sentiment, weavers would not sit idle. I'm sure this is pretty much across the country. So when they were not able to make premium saris, or we did not want them to make at that time, we have rolled out programs by which they could weave other things like yardages to make masks. We also supported them through this period by giving a working capital loan so that they could do some entrepreneurship in their own areas and sell things that they had people wanting to buy them from. So these are some of the strategies. I can also go into a little later in my next question. Thank you so much, Vibha, for asking this question.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonali. I think it was beautifully interwoven from Paisa to IIM's knowledge out here. And I could see our DG sir also wanting to add some points to it. Sir, would you want to add something to it?
I really like this the 3P concept Jonali said. And if you know that yesterday also, when the main event was held, when Honorable Minister, Textile Minister and MOS was there, and that the minister stressed upon the same thing, that also from government side or from NGO side or from other agency side also, we are giving so much support to the handloom weavers and artisans. But the ultimate aim should be to make them independent, to make them stand on their own feet. So for last so many 50-60 years, this office of DC Handloom and DC Handicraft have been doing so many things, so many schemes are there, but it's still there's a lot of things which are yet to be done. So how to make everything self-sustained, that should be our role, and that is the topic of today's discussion also. In fact, sustainability, I always say that sustainability means you have to look after your own old age, or you maybe, if you believe in rebirth, you have to look after your next birth.
Yes.
So maybe, and then you will repent. Oh, the last birth I could have done this, and I could have done that. So that is and then longevity has also increased. Now people live up to 80, 90, 100 years.
Yes.
So that should be if we really means we being selfish, then also we have to do these certain things. But as far as this handloom weavers are concerned, and in order to make them really independent, this concept of self-help group really did not well, as Jonali referred. But in the last, still toiling with the idea, and we have succeeded to some extent, is the idea of producer company. So what government is doing, producer company of this promising weaver, we facilitate companies in place. Then from government side, we give some initial support. And then some of the promising particular youngsters, the e-savvy youngsters particularly, if they are in that fold, we provide them training. Then financial support is also given. Since producer company is a legal entity, they can get which have their own schemes for working capital support and other things. So this is the new thing. So far, I think around 100 plus producer companies have been formed in the last 2 years all over country. So because this collective bargaining power comes only when they form the producer company. That is one thing which ultimately make them sustainable. Another benefit of this producer company is that, we have this Delhi Haat and Surajkund Mela. And so when these producer companies are there in place, instead of individuals, we give this space to the company, not the individual. Now the company can bring all its products from different artisans. So the benefit gets distributed among all. So this is one practical thing which comes to my mind, which we can really implement. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, we have seen.
I think we should go.
Sorry, sir.
Please go.
I was just, adding to your point. We have been working also with a producer company, which has actually been set up and running well. And after our interventions with them, they also have increased their income quite a bit. So that's a very good thing about the producer company setup. Yeah.
Yes, please. Vibhavari, we may ask the next panelist. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So that's a beautiful weaving of how the whole mechanism works on the ground reality. And I think Sudha ma'am is joined back. So can we go back to your question, Sudha ma'am? I think, ma'am,
Just a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see now?
Yes, ma'am, we can see.
Okay. So I'm sorry, there is some connectivity issue here. Yeah. This is, you will find that in these villages, you will find that the real sense sustainability in terms of their packaging, in terms of their clothing, their food habits, or even their cultural way.
I think we can't hear you, ma'am. So,
Now is it better?
yeah.
Hello?
Yes. We can
Okay.
hear.
So, yeah. So like this is where even in these hearts, the tribals bring the dyes to be sold. These are from a bark of a tree. So they sell these also in the heart. The weavers do not use any kind of attachment in their looms. They do the design by memory, and they do the designs, or their motif repertoire actually consists of all the things that they see around themselves, which gives a very fresh look. Like you can see the boats, the kumbha, and also notice the vocabulary, the regional vocabulary, any jacquard or dobby. It is by their own aesthetics of visuals with extra weft weaving. And interestingly, these become more attractive to people who go from outside, especially now that the tribals just buy these textiles, maybe one in the family, because these are a little expensive for their pocket. So outsiders now wear, want these kind of textiles more than the local population. Very, very limited repertoire in terms of borders that they can do in extra weft. Gradually, what has happened is that apart from, they can do many textiles with this limited weaving technique and limited motive vocabulary, which you will find some of the older generation wearing the simplest one in the heart. This is from this visual was from Bastar in a village called Tokapal. They wear their saris in a very practical manner. These are 14s and 20s thick cotton saris.
Sudha ma'am,
So a woman would drape it like this. What you see as Chendra is the way she wears it when she's working at home with her right shoulder free for doing more work. And when she's going out to the market, she'll wear it in a different manner, which is Gandhi Marna, so that the front flap can actually serve as a little bag if she wants to carry vegetables or fruits or grains or something, Marna technique, and carry it back as a bag. Repertoire they had more wanted by people because the tribals also have I think there is some connectivity issues. Maybe, we can proceed further.
ma'am, probably you could just speak about it.
Yeah, no, I was through with my presentation. I just wanted to show that how the tribals actually take inspiration for a very sustainable way of dyeing, in which they use everything that is waste, like the cow dung or the ash from their kitchen hearth. And the water also is taken, the water is reused again and again. There is no effluent to be treated, to be treated before you put it in the water and things. Everything that is consumed in the house is what they use for treating their yarns for dyeing and for weaving.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, of course, we did miss in the middle a little. Probably there might be a couple of questions that might come up to you. So, over to Miss Devika. How would you define vulnerability to sustainability weaving trajectories of hope?
Well, I'm still trying to juggle all those words in my head. I've been working in this sector since 1992. I've been working with women's groups, I've been working with crafts, I've been working with handloom, sustainability, vulnerability, and what have you, long before they became buzzwords that trend in B schools. If I feel as with handloom, with everything else in our country, it's the problem of numbers. It's just it's the scale at which we produce and consume and discard. And with the scale of production, consumption, and throwing away is also the scale of choices. And when you have the scale of choices, the loudest voice gets heard. And sadly, a handloom voice is not as loud as a multinational brand or a label that has all the money and the wherewithal to push itself forward. Yeah, we wouldn't have come to this. A National Handloom Day should have been a day of joy and celebration. And here we are talking about how do we save our legacy that has lasted since the Harappan times. Here is handloom. The earliest fragment of cloth that we have is more than 3,500 years old. And you and I are the generation and the generation after us. But we are the starting generation that set forth the ball, towards the destruction of handloom. Looms are shutting down rapidly as we speak. COVID has only magnified the shutting down of looms. It's, if I look, because I work in the sector, and a lot of work the government does is fantastic. They have some of the best schemes available. But how many people are there on ground to impart that scheme efficiently and diligently? So we'll have from 10 officials, probably 2 who have their hearts in the game and are actually putting forth. I'm actually a beneficiary of something like this, because in Andhra, finally, after a lot of searching, we have come across a handful of people who are willing to support us. So there is schemes to be had, there's money in CSR, there is a great amount of work that NGOs are doing, but handloom, the problem of handloom is like that big elephant in the room, and all of us are those 6 blind men. Unless we unify our voice into one and get together, we will never ever be able to address it. And in that unification, we need all stakeholders on board. The government is doing a fantastic job. It has done a fantastic job all these years. Implementation is a problem. Implementation is a problem because how many people want to come into the sector to work in it? Design schools have been talking of handloom, but look at our alumni. Look at NID, look at NIFT, look at any of these design schools. Our alumni pass out and aspire to work in the sector. These are hard questions. These are hard questions. What are we doing systemically to change the direction?
Very true, very rightly said, Devika. So I would just direct a question on the similar grounds to Ms. Jonali. Since you've been working on the traditional textiles of the Northeast and on the women empowerment of the vulnerable communities, what were the challenges faced by you and how did you work around them to achieve your goals? You're on mute.
Yes. So there couldn't have been a better sort of taking off ground than what Devika just mentioned. I think what I'm going to say is just going to be segueing off from what Devika's mentioned. Really, we are such a complex country. We are a complex country of different cultures, different eating habits, different wearing habits, different languages, and on top of it are, sheer numbers. So yes, I mean, absolutely. The heartening fact is that it has survived to this day and age, the handloom practice. That is the thing that I guess we need to be a little, thankful about. So now I work exclusively, or have been so far, until 2020, I was working only in the Northeast sector. And from last year, I have dabbled a bit into Karnataka as well. So my experience is primarily about the within Northeast. I've focused on Assam. Even Northeast is like a mini, subcontinent, because there are so many tribes within Assam itself. Like I mentioned, there are so many. Now, talking in terms of context of handloom and the 3P model that I shared about a little while ago. So, it's not just to romanticize, oh, we have so many tribes, we have so many beautiful handlooms, and wear them once in a while and flaunt. It's like I said, it had to generate money as per our mission of doing something for the people who have the skills, and especially women, because now this is challenge number one of the work that I am in, that unlike the rest of India, Northeast and Assam has only women who work on the looms. For men, it's a sacrilege to even be near the loom, meaning because it has never been a profession. Weaving has never been a profession to earn money. There is no weaving class. There is no title by a weaver. There is no concept of master weavers until some time back when Government of India launched Master Weaver Scheme, and there are few have been identified. But there are master weavers abounding in every community, but they are not called master weavers because no one had given them that status. Secondly, there is no product. Like, only from the last 15 years, I think we have certain products that have come out. And of course, they're very beautiful. They're, the world knows about it, but we can never match the sheer branding of a Kotpad or a Venkatagiri or a Jamdani or a Banarsi or a Kanchipuram, because we don't have a sari or something that is named after a region. The best we have is Swalkuchi Assam silk. Now, that is not that maybe is fine, we have something, but it is not commensurate to the wealth of weaving talent. There are, like I said, 220 tribes, and each of them have their own weaving skills. So, yes, there is only one commercial cluster, and everything else is just it's a tradition. So I just want to now narrow down to what we've been doing. So challenge number 2, I have mentioned. Challenge number 3 has been raw material. Now, raw material, because Assam abounds in silks, but when our model has been to work with women at home, we couldn't have given them a Muga silk and Pat silk because they've never handled those kind of expensive silk. So we could work with them with cotton and with eri silk, which is hand spun. And incidentally, the cooperative group and the other self-help groups that we work with, one of them is the largest eri silk producing region of the entire world, which is in Kamrup district. And it's a 1,000 member cooperative group. So that is the good thing that, they can manufacture. So challenge number, that is 3. Challenge number 4 is that women are also expected to work on fields. They go 2 times in the year to sow the crop and to harvest the crop. And challenge number 6 is obviously the production and quality control issues because of the fact that they do not work in a large unit, and also of a steep learning curve that they had to undergo. Just in 2 years, they had to learn how to weave a sari and match the ranks of other sari genres. I just want to show a few slides because I think, okay. So we have focused on a cluster model. I mean, the whole idea that we have worked on is that we are going to not create our garments as a designer brand, but we are going to try to create it as a cluster. So a cluster should be known for a particular type of saris that it makes, and we are going to focus on women. So we are going to look at 2 major districts. I've mentioned here Kamrup and Jorhat, and they incidentally have a large number of weavers who are engaged part-time, both about 3 to 4 hours a day and 5 to 6 hours a day. And they account for 56% of the total weaving population of the state. So which is why we focus on these 2 districts. And so now coming to and of course, there is a whole list of items as to what happens when a woman weaves and what has happened. So there are things like saving regularly for the family, involvement in the neighborhood and society, and helping the social institutions. All of these got a tick, and this is from a study not that I conducted, but I have referred to a study published in the International Journal. Now, I just want to take you through the complexity of Northeast, of Assam itself. So in this model, so we have, like I said, out of the 220 tribes, we have 7 major tribal groups, and each of them wear a different kind of dress. So we have Assam Plains, we have the Boros, which is a big community, we have the Mishings, and we have the Rabhas, and they have their own traditional costume. So what could we do from their garments, we could make saris. And in order to do this, we had to first, do a lot of things because a sari needs 48 inches and a mekhla chador or any other garment was only needing 39 inches. So first of all, we had to change the infrastructure. So we had to, change the looms and, make them 48 inches. So that was number one. Secondly, the yarns that they were using was
Sorry to be interrupting. If you can make it a little faster because we are running short of time.
Sure. Then I'll not go through the slides in detail. I'll just show you. So we had to make all these changes. And then just wanted to show these slides as to from a mekhla chador, how we made saris, keeping the aesthetics and the weaving skill intact. So this is extra weft on a simple stand loom with a jacquard. And then this is the mishing design, which we named as Gero saris. And just to mention the previous one, here we have named two sari genres called Chaya and Dohi. So the idea is that those clusters would be in the future also making these saris for anyone. It could be for a designer, it could be for any other brand, but the skills and the ecosystem must be built. And this is the Rabha design. So they are mostly doing extra work. So how from a traditional garment, we have ported the design to a sari. So these are the ways in which we have addressed the issues of, kind of traditional garments, but yet taking the element of the talent. And we have consulted, of course, experts, because I'm not a textile designer. So, I have had to take opinions and expertise of textile designers. We've had to change the construction. We've had to change the EPI and the PPIs and to make sure that the fabric is dense. So I'm wearing one of the saris, and I like very soft and it has the extra weft motif of the mishings. So, these are the ways in which we address. I mean, there are so many challenges. I think it will take me at least half an hour to go through all of them. And I've already exceeded the time limit, Vibha. So maybe I could share some of the things later. But these were some of the ones, and including, of course, all the other issues like, market and production, all of that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonali. And so if we take forward from where you left, so I would ask Dr. Sudha, what are the current and future directions to environmental and cultural sustainable practices through traditional approach to the handloom? Ma'am, just keep it little brief because we are running short of time.
So I agree with Devika when she says that, the new entrants are missing. Actually, new people, they feel that this is a very humongous task. Even the next generation of weavers are reluctant to go into the field because they have seen their parents suffer. So I think what can action is, one, we need to give exposure to the artisan about what is the need of the niche market. We cannot expect them to fill the mass market, because they will come gradually to the level where they will understand what quality is or what, how to do a production for a bigger market. So exposure is what we want them to have more. And through this process of developing new products, they need to be hand-holded so that they understand, mentorship is very important. For example, when I was working with these weavers and they had very high, thick fabric, for which there is no demand in the domestic market, in the sense, nobody of us would buy a 2 kg sari. But developing it for a home product, developing it into runners or cushion covers. On the other hand, the weaver doesn't know how a runner is used. The weaver does not know how a cushion cover is used. So that kind of a linkage can be provided by people who are in the market. Market intelligence, I would say, and hand-holding mentorship is required. Also, I think the consumer awareness needs to be increased. When Jonali says that, we cannot do the branding like Kotpad did, let me tell you, in 2008, nobody knew what Kotpad was. And the weaver, everybody was negotiating with him about the price of the fabric. Why is he selling it for 300 rupees a meter, even if it's a natural dye? So we made posters. We told them, the consumers, that the process takes 25 days for the yarns to be prepared. And then there were no questions when he went to, say, Kisan Hut or other places. It took at least 2-3 years for consumers to be aware that this is sustainable, this is body friendly, the kind of dye that has been used. Also, I think giving dignity and respect to the artisan so that he knows that what I'm doing is meaningful, even if for a smaller number of people, he understands that what I'm doing throughout my life has added meaning to some people. That is what is going to help them. That is what I feel will go a long way. And I think that could be a future trend. Also, post pandemic, many of us have realized looking after the ecology, looking after the environment is an important aspect. Not asking weavers to come and work as a daily wager and work on Manrega schemes is what we all have have realized. Working from their homes, small limited quantities, niche market is what I think is going to be the future trend for smaller weavers. I think for people who come from marginalized sector. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very well wrapped it up, ma'am. And I think, Devika, I would ask you to wrap up this similar question. What, according to you, would be the future strategies to a sustainable livelihood in handloom, since you've been on the field and you've been seeing changes happening? So you would be the right person to let us know what have been your experiences and what you've come across and what you think.
I think the heartening fact is that suddenly, at least India is rising, waking up and celebrating handloom. I see, especially with the advent of social media, there's what I call the social media sari club. There are so many wonderful groups that celebrate the sari, but handloom, for every sari, fine sari weaver, there are 12 to 15 coarse count weavers who do lungis and towels and stuff like that, right? So we are talking of not one or two or 1,000 artisans, we are talking of a few million weavers. And if we are to protect the fine count brocade weaver, his loom maker makes looms for the entire lot. If you don't protect the base, if you don't sort of work with the base of the pyramid, the apex is not going to last for very long. I would sort of take forward from what Sudha and Jonali have said. The beauty in our handloom, which nobody in the world has, not just handloom, in our handicrafts, is our diversity. So instead of trying to mass manufacture, and Surat makes Banaras, Banaras makes Kanchi, Kanchi makes something else, we need to actually celebrate this microcosm at its micro level. It's very, very important. Instead of trying to make 1,000 things look alike, we need to actually celebrate that one singular uniqueness that is coming out of one small pocket. I keep saying that every time we lose a hand skill, we lose a vernacular in India. Just the way we are losing our languages, we are also, so craft is a medium of expression. So we need to safeguard ourselves. We need to safeguard our heritage. We are diverse as a country, and the beauty is in our diversity. And to sustain it, we can't just look at the weave. We have to start from the farm to fiber to fabric to fashion model. We have to start working with agriculture and see what's happening with our cotton, who's growing our cotton, what cotton is being grown, where's our water table like, what's happening because of the dyes that we use. So it's after we address all these things, do we reach the point of actually working towards a fabric. We have to start from the seed, from the farm. And at the end of the day, if I throw my sari away, great, it's made out of cotton, it'll go into the soil. But even if I use azo-free dyes, it's going to pollute. How can I use, like Sudha said, in Bastar, those dyes that are being used, even the moderns are organic. The effluent goes back into the field. You're not using a sulfate or a carbonate or any sort of salt to fix it. So while we celebrate indigo, do you know how much indigo pollutes? So we have to actually start, we as a nation, we are starting to lose the grays, excepting me, I'm gaining more grays. But everything's becoming black and white. So indigo is great, it's natural. Azo-free is bad, it's chemical. No, that's not true. Let's read between the grays and see what's happening. Yeah, so I would think in the 3P model that everybody talks of people, planet, and profits, I think it's time we put the planet first. If we are to survive from what Sir said, If I am to survive in my next birth, my planet has to survive first.
True, very true.
Very well summed up. So I think we have come back to the same question of, every time we buy a product, what we need to consciously think about it, where did it come from, and what went behind the making of the whole of the product. So with this, I would open for questions to the audience. If there are any questions, you could probably raise your hand and ask the question. I see one question which has been put over here. When this generation of weavers go and the next generation comes, we find that there are no handloom weavers to take up the job. There are hardly any weavers for the future, as there are no one to learn the art. Can you come up with some ideas to revive the handloom industry? Anyone can take that up.
Hello, Vibha. Hello, Vibha. Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure. Okay, since I am in textile design department for so many years, as I have been working with so many handloom clusters, and also we did many projects in handloom clusters, and moreover, I am also belongs to weaving.
I think, sir, you are on mute.
Vibha, please ask the panelist to take the question.
Yeah, the question was actually directed to the panelist.
It was about what do we do to promote handloom weaving? Is it? Is that what you
Yes.
asked? Yeah.
Can you come up with some ideas to revive the handloom industry?
Okay. Industry is too large. Reviving a industry is a humongous task. But of course, I think when I said that working consistently, telling them, when my weaver's son used to come to Delhi and he knew how to weave, but he was not practicing it. He would say, I want to do some other job, which gives me money. I've seen my father sit on the loom for the last 50 years, and we still have to take loan for a wedding or for a health issues and things like that. So in that case, when I showed him how younger generation is turning into a weaver, say in NIFT or NID, people are trying to learn this skill. There was a little impact. And he said, yes, I've learned it as a child. I would like to continue with it. But I think the ambience need to be more conducive. He needs to learn more skills, different skills than what his father has. He needs to learn the skills of communication, marketing, computers, how to sell it on an Instagram. And during pandemic, they all learned, how to put a photograph. We used to send them a visual and say, okay, this is how you photograph a sari when pallu is showing. This is how you do a costing. So I was working with very, very few people. But as you know, that this sector is really huge. Teaching them new skill sets of communication, marketing, computer savvy, this thing is what might bring a new synergy in this sector.
Anyone would want to add? I would like to add this, that this is the perfect platform to announce that the session that is going to happen after this is going to address this particular issue. Director ma'am, Susan ma'am, yeah, I see a raised hand. You could ask your question, please.
Yeah, so, in fact, I love the way Devika summed up the whole thing, which was about when we lose a craft, it is also a loss of expression as well. So, and, losing of a vernacular, and there is a definite, maybe not a deliberate, but a definite attempt to sort of cloth in the same color, cloth in the same cut, speak the same language, and it's a very, very polar and unidimensional narrative that we are moving into, and I want to pick the brains of Jonali and Sudha in this, because both of you have worked in the tribal clusters, and whether over the years you have noticed this loss of language and the loss of or are we over romanticizing it, or is it that, I mean, we feel that they are the custodians? Because when we talk about it also, I'm acutely aware that they would also have aspirations to urbanize, to send their kids to, schools and colleges and, take up more industries. So is there a divide? How do we bridge that divide? What has been your experience as far as the local culture is concerned, expressed through these crafts and looms? Thanks, Vibha.
Yeah, I can take, and then with your permission, Dr. Sudha.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
All right. So I just want to respond, Susan, to your question. So globalization is touching every nook, corner, and village of India. I mean, it's all the more rampant now because of geo coming in. So no one is really behind anymore. I think there is really a democratization of knowledge and information. So now, having said that, on a different level in terms of the language, the pride, I think, I haven't really done any study, but yes, my gut says that in the regions that I work in, there is a very high regard and respect and pride for what they do, and they want to keep it up. At the same time, there is always a corresponding pressure to earn income, right? Because as soon as you attain a particular age, you have to fend for yourself, and that's the expectation of the society. And most of our formal sector, all of us are products of the formal sector. We have taken education, and the expectation was always to earn the money. So it's no different for them. But what I've seen is people have made that move, had some education. However, then after a few years, they have returned. Now, I can't cite any great examples from where I've worked in, but I had met this gentleman, I'm sure many of us would know, this amazing Jamdani weaver, father and son, Rajiv Devnath and his father, who is a master weaver. I had attended one of his sessions in Bangalore in 2015, I think, and he narrated his entire journey from leaving his Kalna in West Bengal to taking up a job in Hyderabad, and how he didn't like it at all. Then he saw an opportunity in taking the Jamdani weaving further, and now he's he's really doing so well. And I mean, obviously, it's a great art that of his father is taking forward and also making the income. Now, in our areas, the culture is intact, but like I said, the gradual conversion of that interest and pride to income generation is happening slowly. Maybe I'll have more examples to share the next time when we meet. It is happening, like if I just talk about our people, out of the 500 women that we've worked with, like at least 25% of them earn regular income month on month, and 34% of them have had a almost 200% increase in their income in all the time that they worked with, and few of them have had 16% has had a 500% increase of income, which means that they have benefited from this exercise and they're also proud of it.
I see Dr. Arindam Das wanting to ask a question. Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon and thank you, Vibhavari. It's more of sharing something than a question, because there are a lot of questions that I'm sure we'll learn the answers to that as only when we move along. We at NIFT Shillong, we represent the entire Northeast, and we'd like to be part of this journey, something which I hope will be given more vigor with this panel, with this discussion. There are 3-4 important reasons. One is that we are the hub in the entire Northeast. We have just started a textile design program, which we are moving into specialism for this year. We are also, Professor Dhingra has been kind enough to nominate us as one of the centers of excellence for Khadi. Fourthly, we are also planning to set up an incubation cell here in Shillong, which we hope will focus on technology besides the aesthetics and design. And we have already been working closely with the state government. You are aware of the Area Silk village at Umden Riboy. So we are setting up a design resource center. So I just would like to share our commitment in taking this forward as a key partner in reviving handlooms. And Devika ji, Jonali ji, we'd like to get in touch with you and work out more detail. And thank you very much for for the invitation to this panel. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I see another hand, Ms. Diya Malik.
Yeah, Thank you for giving me a chance. So, I am a software engineer by profession. I love this handloom and handicraft because of my mother, and I want to make my career in this. I'm not sure if this is the right platform to ask, but right now I am just retaining this handloom by wearing and buying lots of stuff wherever I can. So I just wanted to know if anyone can advise me how I can switch from software engineering to this handloom or textile industry.
I would say welcome to NIFT.
Okay.
No, I think you are doing a good job, Divya, that you are promoting and buying, which is required. Don't negotiate with any of the weavers when you know that the product is genuine, and promote it. Buy things which are sustainable, buy things which can be given as an heirloom, sustain it.
That's correct. In MNCs, and most of my friends, they treat me like I am of old generation because I wear all the cotton stuff and everything, because whatever the designer design using ikat or whatever, like local handloom product. So I really love and enjoy, but they all think that is why I keep insisting and encouraging my friends, no, we should retain our like handloom, otherwise we will lose some from our India.
Yeah.
So this is the way I just keep debating. So I really
Good.
love, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very good what you're doing, and keep doing that. You will be in trend one of these days.
And I think we have Jonali here, who is an example for you, who moved from the corporate sector to handloom.
Yes, I think that's what I was going to say, Divya. So don't worry. Just if you feel that you want to do it, just take the plunge. I also, gave up a 14-year-old career and hopping continents to, hopping villages, which is, has been exciting in its own way. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, one last question we will take. I see Nikita Kaushik's hand raised. You could choose the question, please.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and that was really amazing to hear such beautiful, conversation on this Handloom Day. My question to either Sudha ma'am would be, if you, as a designer, I'm a NIFT alumni and a designer now. How can one really promote more of Khadi, with working with the NGOs or KVIC directly? Because it's, saying that promoting Khadi is one thing, but actually as a designer, if we really want to support, there's not much available resources. How can one just go all out and get help from maybe the government channels or bodies? If you can throw some light on that, that would be great.
Center of Excellence for Khadi, where we are going to work with established and young designers to come out with textiles, to come out with collections of apparel, home and accessories for the upper end of the domestic market and international market. So we are going to empanel young designers, fresh ideas have to be brought in. We need to work with indigenous cotton. There is so much of variety, there is so much, so many species which are very eco-friendly, rain-fed cotton, kala cotton and jayadhara.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So the plan is to use these because they can easily be hand spun. So we are going to get into it. It is just a very initial stages that we are working and deliberating on this. But Nikita, you can always get in touch with us through NIFT, and we'll be happy to have your ideas on board and see if you can also be part of the empaneled designers list and help us out with this initiative.
Sure, I would love to, because I'm already working on sustainable fashion, and I would love to be a part of something like this. So we'll definitely get in touch with you.
Great. Yeah.
If you can drop your email ID. Yeah, I will drop my email ID.
So that you would want to leave the email ID for the Khadi Center?
I can give mine. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat box. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So it has been an interesting discussion. I think we can go on this topic, but then we have two more interesting panels which are coming up with the same link. You can all join back, and two of the topics which came out through this discussion were also of having social media, in the prime, so that it helps the artisans and the craftsmen to come forward. So that's the next panel, which is at 3 p.m. And there's another very, very interesting panel, which I am also looking forward to, is on saris, timeless symbols of India and handloom. I'm sure all of us would want to be, it will be a jam-packed session, I'm sure. That's at 5 p.m., same link. Please do join back at 3 p.m. for the next session on social media. Thank you, and thank you to all the panelists and Director Bengaluru, Susan ma'am, for this great opportunity to have discussed such an important topic. And I'm thankful to all the audience to have joined in on a Sunday morning, listening to, which is an important topic, but I'm sure if you're here because you are really interested in sustainability. So thank you once again, everybody.
Thank you very much. And really kudos to the NIFT Bengaluru team headed by Susan, because this is one of the very well crafted programs that I've seen, online around Handloom Day. Otherwise, there are maybe one session, but there are so many and of every flavor. So it's really nice, very well crafted, very well organized. And thank you so much. And Vibha, thanks to you as well.
Thanks a lot. I wanted to just add a little thing also, that it's so lovely that NIFT has seats reserved for artisans' children. And I think that is just wonderful. I think every college should have that. And maybe one way of preserving handloom is to have a separate handloom academy, where a doctors or an engineer or a techie wants to switch to handloom or wants to raise their children to aspire to be weavers. They should allow that, just the way weavers are raising children to be doctors and engineers and what have you. So I think NIFT is paving the way for it, democratizing this entire segment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, thank you, Susan, for conceiving this event also. I think, it should be a yearly event. Now that Minister has also said that, National Handlooms Day ki jagah we should have a week. But, wherever, whosoever has seen the poster, they feel that it's a fantastic topics which are going to be talked about. And, you have a good lineup, and it should be, I wish that you'll have something like we have the Jaipur Lit Fest. You should have a Handloom Fest. Online is a very good media to connect people from all around the country and internationally. I saw Julia on the panel from Australia.
Yesterday we had STC
I think that's a fantastic initiative.
Yeah. So thank you so much, for all these nice words. I always say that, I wandered into NIFT from income tax, and it is to the credit of NIFT faculty that they have taught me well on craft and loom and being able to sort of conceive of something. So I stand on the shoulders of the giants, and, it is completely to the credit of the institution and the faculty that, we are able to do something of this sort. It's been such a meaningful discussion. Once, as Sudha said, once the pandemic is over, we hope to have all these bright minds into the campus for a week-long celebrations next year. Thank you so much.
At Shillong also.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye. Have a good day.